Good evening, everybody, and welcome again to another exciting edition of the Coach's Corner. With me, as always, is the coach, Ian Bain. My name is Kevin Papa. Coach, before we get started, I will take the blame for last week's bye with the new youth schedule playing on Saturday nights combined with a home football game. We just needed to get the practice in. And to all the fans who reached out to me, and there were a couple, that's why we missed the day. All right, so let's get right back at it. Let's go all the way back 2 weeks ago to the Taunton game. The game comes down to the wire. Kyle Walsh making a tying catch. Duplessis, I hope I said that right, sealing the win with the point after. Take me through the last 2 minutes, down 6. Do you practice this sort of situation?
For the most part, we don't huddle. So 2 minute in and of itself doesn't bother us. I think the biggest thing when you manage a 2 minute is things like can't take a sack. As we get closer to the end zone and we're under 20 seconds, you can't scramble. Scramble drill kills the clock. You don't want to scramble. Throw the ball away. And even with 8 seconds left, it's like if the ball's out of your hands quick, we can get 3 plays in 8 seconds, But if we waste time, we can't. So little details of that. We do talk about it. We work on it. Try to remind the players in the moment, too. Hey, we have a timeout. We don't have a timeout. If it's not there, throw it away. If your first option's not there, ground it. Things like that. So we try to communicate that best you can. It is a little harder because in the NFL, you're on the headset.
Sure.
So you can talk in the headset up to like 16 seconds. So you can get all that information and relay it. But the moment of 2 minutes doesn't bother us, just handling those details. And I think we felt in that game, and I think really all year, when we're just playing pretty good football, we can play and do a lot of great things. And it was like, all right, if we go down and we we actually started the drive very poorly, but if we just go down and put a few plays together, we can score here and win the game. And we were able to do that.
14-0, late second half. Taunton's punting the ball. They get the ball back on a roughing the kicker. They go down and score a 44-yard touchdown, I believe.
Yeah, I think next play.
And then they rip off 20 points to start the second half, to go to the whole third quarter. Yeah. Going 27 unanswered points. Can you feel the emotion on your sideline change?
I think a little bit, but I think everybody was just like, we just couldn't. One, they're a really good team. Taunton, you saw the athletes, the talent. Their young quarterback did a great job. They called a great game on both sides, but we didn't help ourselves at all with holding calls in the red zone, bad play calls on offense and defense, not fitting the run. So it's just I just wanted to see us finish by playing good football. At that point, I was like, I don't even care if we win. Can we just finish and play good football to finish the game? And we did that. And then it was like, oh, well, maybe we can win play.
How do you get them to focus back into?
Just got to get back to fundamentals. It's just guys, it's just fundamentals. Fundamental football wins you a lot of games. Look at King Philip. They got great scheme and all that too, but at the end of the day, they're one of the best fundamentally coached football teams around. Mansfield, Mike Reddick. Fundamentally coached football team. They're so good, and that's why they've been able to do it for a long time. So, when we just that was kind of just our message. Let's just put it together a drive of good football, and see what happens.
Kyle Walsh has a big night, 10 catches, 99 yards. Is that a game plan, or is that just goes with the game flow?
Just goes with the game flow. We do call certain plays where certain players are primary. And Kyle certainly on some of those is the primary. But sometimes, say you call a play where Dubriski's the primary. If they cover him, then who's the next in the progression? Sometimes Scarborough's primary, then it's Kyle, then it's Dubriski. So it's just kind of, you call plays that you think are going to work, and then how does the defense play? And, we just want our quarterback to throw to the right guy. I don't ever want to be you got to force feed this kid the ball. There's a time and place for that, sure, but for the most part, it's just the way that they were playing and the way that we called our game. Kyle ended up being the primary on a lot of those, but he was also the secondary, even the third player in the progression on some too.
A funny story about Walsh. He shows up to his first 8th grade youth practice wearing a Carmelo Anthony jersey. So he almost didn't make it to varsity football. All right, so the next week you come in, you have Catholic Central Catholic.
Yeah.
You lose 28-0. Is this the worst loss you've had? I know you can go back to 2019 and say, well, 42-7 or 8 or whatever score that was a bigger loss, but at least that felt like it was a year of building where you put a trophy in the case.
Yeah. not the worst loss. I mean, yeah, I remember Stoughton in our very first game scored 28 points in the first quarter and probably could have beat us by 100. So I think the first Stoughton game was probably the worst loss we've ever had. They're really good. We had to play really good to beat them. We didn't coach very good. We didn't play very good. But then there were moments where you're like, we can play with these guys too. I think it was more of a wake-up call. Like, I think Duxbury, we just weren't ready for that moment. I think the difference in this game is, they came in and they wanted it a lot more than we did. They executed a lot better than we did. They coached a lot better than we did. And it exposed some holes and some things that we've got to make sure we tighten up moving forward. And I just told the guys that loss could be the best thing that ever happened to us. So hopefully that's the case, and we can realign our focus this week. But we got to start challenging ourselves if we want to take the next step. Especially physically when we play these kind of teams. That's a different thing. Like, and you got to play teams in basketball too, and you got to play them in baseball and soccer and lacrosse. But the physicality of those games is very different. The skill is high.
Right.
And I don't think that the issue is our skill. Like, our linemen are skilled, our receivers are skilled, our linebackers are skilled. But there's an element of physicality that we need to get more accustomed to if we're going to take the next step as a program. So, scoreboard-wise, horrible loss. Big picture-wise, again, could be the best thing that ever happened to us, or it could just be another day. It's kind of whatever we want to make it.
Right. After a game like that, you hear coaches all the time, taking the blame. We coach bad. What kind of weekend did you have personally? Did you, and how do you right your own ship after that? Because I know just as a youth coach, if we play bad, I'm thinking about that all weekend.
Right. Well, a lot of times it's coach speak. But, like, at the end of the day, that's our job. And if the kids are going out and not performing, then it's like I'm a high school teacher. And if I give out a test and every kid gets an F, well, I could say that they're bad students, but I could also say, well, I didn't teach them anything either. Right. So, anyways, the weekend was really about how can we not shake things up to change it, but what can we do better? And we actually did a few new drills, revisited a few drills that are really good. And just try to get back to basics, try to raise the level of competition a little bit. We're in that stretch run now. And the attitude of the kids was awesome. I didn't know, I'm trying to plan, Monday, Tuesday to be really two of our best practices of the year. And sitting there thinking, how are the kids going to respond? And they were amazing. And part of that could have been having a good plan. And part of it's also, we got great kids. So, again, the two go hand in hand.
That was my next question. How does the team bounce back? Are there leaders on your team that force the team to bounce back?
You can see there's a sense of urgency. Maybe some things that we were just not letting go, but not paying enough attention to. Just the small details of a practice. Where as the season goes on, you're like, I don't really care if that kid's doing this right now. I got to. And it's like, no. Everything matters. How you do one thing is how you do everything. So that sense of urgency was increased. I think we had a really good week. And that's a testament to our seniors. I think they understand we're halfway through the season now. We're on the back half.
Yeah, the social aspect of the season's over,
yeah.
As Keith Jackson used to say.
Exactly. So, for some of these guys, they only have a few weeks left. They got about a month left.
Right.
And then it's done. So you can see that urgency.
Were there any positives you took away from the game? In my mind, I thought the offensive line played well. I thought getting Scarborough involved was big because now you add Scarborough to Walsh, to Dobrisky, Davidi coming back, running with Frollo. Mm-hmm. Those were the little takeaways that I took away from the game.
I think there were a lot of positives, but they're overshadowed because we weren't consistent. I can point to multiple positive plays, efforts, executions, but then it all gets undone by one mistake. And I think that's really what it was about. It's getting consistency, raising the level consistently through the game.
I know you don't pay attention to the MIA rankings. You currently sit at 14.
Probably.
If it was today, you'd be traveling to Springfield Central. It's much different than the last few years where you've been a lower seed. Looking at a couple home games coming through. Is there a different aspect of playing the hunter as it is to playing the hunted? Is there a different approach you take knowing that you're going to be on the road in a playoff game?
No, there's not.
Just coach it up the same way.
Yeah, it's a little bit maybe logistics because you got to plan your travel and what are you going to eat, or if you got to go to a place like Springfield, that's a long ride. If you got to travel to North Shore, Methuen, or St. John Prep, that's a long ride. If we're traveling to Natick, that's different, So travel, I guess, but I mean, I don't worry about any of that. It's just we got to play football. And Hunter hunted, like we talk about all the time, like none of that. Those are external circumstances. If that's affecting, we try to always think about being intrinsically motivated, and that stuff doesn't factor into my thinking, anyways.
Attleboro this week, always
Yep.
a tough physical game. What do you see out of them?
They got some really good players. When you see them line up, they got a great defensive end. A kid, they got a couple kids playing both ways too. So some of those kids that are ends are tight ends, linebackers, running backs. They got a quarterback that I think can really make plays, really dangerous with his arm and leg. They're well coached. So, I mean, I know the scores haven't all gone their way, but there's always different factors into that. They've had maybe a kid hurt or two, and so you never know who's going to be back in uniform. You never know, it's going to be senior night probably. So they're going to be motivated, and in the Hockomock League, scores and records just don't matter. You just got to go play every week.
All right, so that'll do it for us tonight. Next two games are going to go a long way in shaping up how this team finishes up. The Hawk Championship is still up for grabs. Playoff seedings are always fluid at this time of year, so things are going to change week by week. I can tell you this, youth football, I'm done with Saturday night games, so we'll be here next Wednesday. For the Coach Ian Bain, my name's Kevin Papa, and we'll see you back here at the Coach's Corner. Always brought to you at the fine place of the Railery, where we love the food and drink. Take care. Have a good night.